Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Hello there, wonderful people. Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and it's time for another Extra Nawties monthly roundup. Gonna go over a load of EPs, albums, and compilations I wasn't able to review in full, but which I still thought interesting enough to share my opinions on them with you. Shorter reviews because there is a lot to get through, so I'm just gonna be identifying my main points with each one, and hopefully showing you a couple things you hadn't heard of before, covering the very end of June and up to and including the 28th of July. Covered in alphabetical order by way of artist or record label name, and they're all linked in the description box down below. Lastly, there will be a list of extra or special mentions at the end of the video that I couldn't talk about here because then there would just be too many, but I definitely recommend checking them out as well if you have the time. And so kicking off this installment, we have the new EP from Au5 and Prismatic Invasion. Not a combination I expected, especially on this label, but I must say, for the most part, I think it works pretty well. The production is far better than I expected, the musicality is good throughout as well, and I think they just do a really good job of engaging you for pretty much the whole thing. And basically, when it comes to collaborative dubstep music, my instinct is that pretty much always it'll be a mess, you know, a kind of conflict of interest kind of thing. But this EP has that balance between the styles, and there are moments in every tune here that I really enjoy. A decent chunk of it I'm not that big on, but so rare that these kind of projects work in any way. And I think for the good we get, which is quite a lot, we do have to cherish it. So yeah, one of the most impressive EPs I've heard this year, considering the collaborative aspect and how much can go wrong, and the fact that there isn't really that much wrong here. New EP from Barely, which is another example for me of a decent amount better than I thought it would be, considering what we were getting from him leading up to it, I can't lie. Mostly on an ideas level, I would say, because a lot of it does fall quite flat on the production front, you know, really lacking in terms of the impact of the percussion in particular. But there's always an idea creeping and lying below to kind of pick it back up, and I would say that happens in all four tunes here, you know, an insertion of sounds with perfect placement and timing, stuff like that, you know, stuff to kind of elevate and, you know, bring the EP to life a bit more and make it a bit more unpredictable, which is always welcomed. So a lot of potential, you know, really short tunes here, but a lot of exciting stuff on show. The closer, Watered Up, would have to be my pick. New EP from Current Value, and you may remember I've had a hard time getting into his stuff last year or so, including the beginning of this year. But this is improved ideas-wise for the most part, you know, more engaging and captivating. Just a bit more life and exuberance and excitement to it, I would say. Still not amazing, and not one I'll go back to a lot, but certainly more enjoyable than recent past stuff from him. After that, new EP from Discurs, one of the slightly better, loud, acidic, metallic, in-your-face, rhythm-influenced EPs, I would say. For me anyway. The production isn't great across the board, but there are moments where everything really comes together, like Suffer with Flicks, for example, where the idea is simple, but it hits pretty much exactly how you'd want it to. More than I can say for others here, even though some amazing sounds on show, the introductions and outros are great as well overall, and the energy really tops from start to finish, so good just about outweighs the not so good here. New EP from Emperor, which is okay. Someone who's been around for so long, you kind of simultaneously expect better and also not. You know, such a good producer, but then by now it's likely he's run out of great ideas, which seems to be the case here. Not a lot exciting me, I'd have to say, across the five. Shakedown with Leveler aside, which is a bit more to the point and full of life, if you will, but no, for the most part, not something I'm aching to listen to again and again. It's just alright. New collection from Exclusion, which is pretty great, I would have to say. Kind of like an extension of his Gulf of Conflict EP from a couple of months ago, but a bit more classical and also more haunting, which is always welcomed, of course. Very immersive, atmospheric, and expansive, you know, hints of Alon Moore and Rigto in there. And for the most part, just really well done, you know, musically on point, constructed with a patience and care and an amazing range of tones and moods on show as well. And it's great that he's got that side to his production, you know, I wonder where it came from, considering how strong his dubstep one has been in the recent past, but again, refreshing and very welcomed in this current climate. And up there for sure with the most conceptually interesting projects I've heard this year, yeah. New EP from Glades, which is very ordinary in the ideas and the production. The kind of EP where I think about the amazing concepts and ideas and songs overall in the underground, and that this space is taken up by this collection. And I'm not sure how it happens, but hey ho, is what it is. The kind of EP for me where I think people assume it's good just cause it's on Never Say Die, when the reality is it's all been heard before. Then debut Disciple EP from Graphi, and last month I talked about how I felt E-Craze, who has also recently signed for Disciple, had lost the spark and invention in his sound. And kind of the same here, you know, the energy is there, but it's pretty bereft of creativity, you know, just wall after wall of thumping, acidic sound, and I'm finding it hard here to distinguish between the four tunes when it comes to the heaviness. You know, well produced and assembled for the most part, but not a lot exciting me. The intro to Blast Off is the highlight for me here, which probably says it all. New EP from Keats, which is probably the best Mousetrap EP I've heard all year. Really well produced, full of power and gusto. Simple, precise, clean cut, couple of slips here and there, but quite easy to ignore in the context of the whole EP, I would say. Mostly just really draws you in, and that's exactly what you want in a project from that label. New EP from Megalodon, which is okay, you know, the sound is definitely sharper and cleaner than usual for him, which makes it more enjoyable overall, I would say, but most of the ideas are still quite straightforward and everyday. Not a lot here that's kind of getting me out my seat, if you will. Dumpster Song is the most enthralling here, but weirdly also the worst transitioning and some of the worst execution of the four. So again here, no one song that I love from start to finish. New EP from Moxie, which is quite possibly one of the most bland EPs I've heard all year, considering how good they can be. You know, last couple of years it just seems like they've settled for the fan base they have. No real ambition, ideas not really doing anything. At points it can be fun, but I wouldn't go any further. Shoddy production as well, it's just like, come on guys, you're better than that. New compilation from Monstercat, which is a very interesting collection whereby Monstercat mainstays kind of refashion classics in their own style. For example, you have Ramesses B, his take on Robert Miles's Children, which would have to be my pick here, the only one that actually works for me as a combination of original and his style, and the best produced here as well, I would have to say. The others feel more like just putting square pegs in round holes, quite clunky, and don't really do the originals justice, which is the whole point. A shame, because it's such a good idea, but yeah, not as good as it makes out to be on paper. New EP from Omnipony, you know, loads of potential with this sound, loving the fun and excitable rave-influenced speed house kind of theme, permeating the whole thing. Production lacks in vital moments, I would have to say, you know, heaviness in particular, where the sound isn't quite rounded enough. Either that or the ideas don't do that much to pull you in. But when that mix is right, you know, when it's reached in a good time going forward, really, really onto something. Next up, new Shady EP, and I've listened to this one a lot, and I'm still struggling to get that much out of it, I have to admit. Some good moments and sounds on show here and there, and Miles of Mind is nice, but overall, I'm not gripped really, I think. You know, not a lot of standout material here, and stuff to remember, you know, making me want to go back to it again and again. And I think, considering the hype for his music, again here, quite disappointed. New EP from Scope, and over the course of a year, you just really hope there'll be at least a couple of projects that really, really take you aback. And this would have to be one of them. You know, the ideas, the sounds, the production quality, the different styles tackled across the whole thing, just the general ambition of it, all of it, across the 5 tunes. And some ideas are better than others for sure, but on the whole, just so impressive. And at the moment, my pick would have to be Hoops as the most exciting and enthralling overall of the 5. but fantastic aspects to all of them, and as a whole thing, just easily one of the most impressive and ambitious projects I've heard all year. Yeah, no doubt. Moving on, the Slander Remixes, which is a case of drum and bass putting modern dubstep to shame in every way. Mephius really showing the rest up here, and yeah, really is as simple as that. New EP from Spor, which is pretty good. Not many drop ideas here properly grabbing me, but the production alone makes it very solid. My favourite at the moment would have to be Beam Cannon, a beautiful mix of delicate vocal and show-stopping heaviness. I also enjoy the opener in Rixa and Cohesion as well quite a bit. Others I feel have a few too many gaps to really excel, but the rounded and thick production does really well to keep the EP in shape over its course. A nice storytelling aspect to it as well over the course of the whole thing, and not a lot of star quality on show, I would have to say, but really solid, you just can't deny. Another EP from Virus Syndicate, one that I really like the idea of, especially so quickly after their dubstep one for Disciple. But I do have to say, not really that big on any of the D&B instrumentals here. You know, there isn't one that I want to hear again and again. The rapping is fine, but the music itself, the drops are just, they're decent, each of them, but they all lack in either the idea or execution in some way, and in vital ways as well. The State of Mind one for me runs closest, I would say, to something I'd hear again and again. But once more, it's a thing here of moments here and there, but not quite the chemistry you'd hope for. And ultimately, new Wolfgang Gartner, which is quite pop influenced, I suppose, unsurprisingly, so not completely relevant for the channel, but just about enough bass to make it worth talking about here. Honestly, don't feel like a lot of this is him in full flow. I think several of them really need a vocal or something similar to just lift them up a bit beyond the music. You know, groovy tunes, good flows, and energy overall, but lacking that final ingredient to make them fully infectious, if you get me. You know, stuff I really want to get into. Track 5, I think it is Supercars, runs closest to that for me. But for the most part, just more standard than statement making, I would say. It's decent, but far from his best. But overall, to be honest, just happy that he's healthy again and back from rehab and doing what he does best. And finally here today, the new Zeds Dead album compilation kind of thing, which I didn't expect to get a lot out of, and I didn't get a lot out of, I have to say. Some decent remixes here from the likes of Chi and Something Something. I think the Blank one would have to be my pick. Very exciting ideas and a cool take on the original, and it might just even be my favourite Blank tune so far in his discography, maybe. The rest are pretty unremarkable, collaborations don't do all that much. The Res one is alright, but it's been out for a fair while, and the Floret Loret one is quite pretty, but not quite relevant for the channel. So yeah, far more miss than hit, I would have to say. But, as I said, I didn't expect all that much, so it's all good. And so there we have it, the July 2020 edition of the monthly Extra Nawties Roundup. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. The special mentions from last month, not as many as usual, but I'm going to put them up on the screen here for you all to see. Yep, have a little pause if you want to note them down, take a screenshot, whatever. They are not in the description as usual, of course, so I recommend doing so if you can. Okay, with regards to the EPs, albums and compilations reviewed in this video, which ones did you enjoy, which ones not so much? Are there any that I missed out? Let me know in the comments section down below. But beyond that, keep it naughty. If it's naughty, then you know, and I will see all of you legends in the next one. Peace out.